Okay, now I'm gonna come back to
Welcome
Christian.
everybody to Committees and Future Theater. I really appreciate you all coming in and tuning in for the Zoom meeting. 2 weekends ago, I was able to attend a 3-day conference workshop for board directors and theaters that are in this unique time of pandemic. So I took a lot of notes and I kind of confined everything down into 5 topics that I wanted to cover with you tonight, which has some ideas for our theater's future. The main thing that this is going to cover is that I'm would like to get our theater set up to start having some committees. In this last year, we've had a board that has been kind of slow moving at a pace. We haven't done a whole lot. Those that wanted to do theater really pushed forward and got some things done and did some theater in this last year. But our board has struggled for a while on trying to get our theater up and running again. I think that having some committees to help support the board and our organization to help move us forward in the future is really the way to go. And a lot of the theaters that I spoke with over that weekend, they already have committees in place or are looking to start committees. So I broke it down into 5 different areas, and the first one I'm gonna start with is we already have this in place. It's our grant writing committee. We have 3 people currently that are on our grant writing committee, and they worked to try and get us funds for capital improvements on our buildings, support players in education. There's different grants that they can go out and apply for. We currently only have 3 people that are on our grant writing team. The one thing I really took away from this meeting that I went to is tickets cannot be our sole support of our theater. So we need to start coming up with ways that tickets are not going to be our only funds. So grant writing is a great way for us to get some supplement income that is coming in when you apply for these on a regular basis. So we're looking for people to help round out that committee that we already have in place so that we don't have people that are going to get burnt out quickly doing grant writing. So there are different grants out there. There are grants that we could be doing for diversity and equity in theater. We could be applying for a grant for that. That could be an education system for our theater to be part of that movement that is going through the theaters. So financially, our goals, we need to set those for the future. And these grants can actually help us move forward in the future. So getting some more support in that area would be a great addition to our theater. Anybody have any questions or concerns in that area or ideas?
How many people do you think they would have on this committee in other theaters? If we have 3 right now, but yes, like you said, those 3 are going to get burnt out. Do you have a goal in mind?
I would like to see at least maybe 5 to 6 people. And it's not just the grant writing itself, but it's the research behind finding what grants are available out there to us. There are education programs out there that are available for people, especially for nonprofit. They have classes that we can take that are at no charge to help a nonprofit organization like we have to get people comfortable with doing grant writings for our theater. So if we can get a group of people together, we could organize that to get that class set up so that people would feel more comfortable and be a little more educated on what grants writing is about. Because grant writing, to me, I've never done it and it's a little scary for me to think about that. But somebody that's really good with words and likes to write things is perfect for them. But I would be willing to even take a course in nonprofit grant writing just so that I could be a little less frightened of the situation. I think it is fascinating that there are so many opportunities out there for grants that we're just not capitalizing on right now. And we could be. I mean, that could be a really big support for us. Any other questions?
Yeah, do you know who? I know it's Victoria.
Victoria, Kathy Leduc,
Kathy.
and Sarah LaMarche are all currently on our grant writing team.
Okay,
And
thank
I
you.
know that Vicky is currently working on our capital grant. And what I'm doing for her for capital grant writing is we're getting together estimates to help supplement the cost of the improvements to our scene shop. So I have estimate coming for the building on the asbestos removal. Jamie has gathered estimate for gutter replacement on the building and replacing some of the edges on the building that have been damaged by animals. So gathering some of that information, is part of the grant writing, is to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row when we send out that information. With grant writing, with that being said, she writes a grant in June. We don't find out the results until September. And then we can spend the money in like October. There's a process that goes behind it. So the quicker we can get these in and get used to doing them and writing them so that we're familiar with the process, the quicker turnaround we can get. We can have money coming in at different stages throughout the year. So that's one of the financial goals that I think that we should really have is in the future, is to make sure that we have a really strong grant writing team. And that's why I'm reaching out to all of you that have turned out tonight, is with these committee ideas, is where are you interested in? Where would you like to help out? What appeals to you in the things that I'm talking about tonight?
Heather,
Yes.
longtime listener, first time caller. I've had a little bit of experience with writing grants, and it's not as complicated as you might think for those of you that haven't had an opportunity yet. Part of the process is just finding a use for the funds that we are asking for. So Vicky is actually working on an operations grant right now to cover operations costs with just about anyone can use at any part of the organization, like you said, for the repairs or even for paying for royalties and such. Another option that we can have is a mini arts grant, which we could apply to if we wanted to pursue some type of show, if we wanted to do workshops, anything that's geared towards the youth, looked very fondly on by the approval committee. Most grants have a pretty standard format on what you have to do. You have to write a narrative. You usually have to have some resumes for the people who are going to be executing the use of the funds. And then you have to have your budget and then your timeline. So it's not a challenging thing. And just like our grant team got put together after a workshop was held here, we can bring someone in to help train new folks as well.
Thank you, Jamie. That clarifies a lot, because like I said, I've never myself done anything to do with the grant writing. I attended a different workshop that weekend, but the people that went to the workshop were very excited about what they learned for the grant writing. And that's, we'd like to see some more people participate in that field for us. Any other questions, comments? All right, moving on to the next section. We've been trying to put together, and like this one is also in the works, is a script committee, script finding, script reading, getting some people together with doing some scripts. And the different aspects of looking for scripts is not just for our current season, looking at seasons ahead of time. It's not to say that people who want to direct a show and have an idea can't submit for scripts, but this is for things like kids cabaret is one of the ideas that one of the theaters has been doing over in California is that they're doing a live stream kids cabaret number. There's another one that is doing over the summer is doing a weekend of play festivals, 1 hour play festivals with not just their theater, but the surrounding theaters around them have set up outside to do 1 hour shows and sell tickets. And they're performing outdoor theater with a theater festival. Partnering with groups in our community to do shows. So Jamie was trying to put together last year the cemetery walk. I don't know if you're all familiar with that, but he was paired up with the Historical Society to have people walk through the cemetery and hear stories of people who are buried in our cemetery that have some historical significance to our area. Another theater out in California did a women's suffrage during voting time. They did a small play where they went around to the women's groups and did just a half an hour presentation, kind of historical figures talking about women's movement and the vote to right. We could do things paired with the military order Purple Heart. We could do things with the animal shelter, with the foster closet. Those are different areas that we could be exploring. And that's what I'm talking about with the script committee. We could be doing more podcasts. I know that we had one put together. One of the ideas, even when I was writing out my notes for doing the Zoom for you guys, was a podcast with players founding members so that we can get some history down on film or with the podcast recording. People like Lynn, Marie Peterson, people that we still have with us, we could be recording our history and then keeping it in a file that is a podcast that is just dedicated strictly to Players to Knock, so that we won't lose those memories, or we can pass those stories along to future generations. You should hear that story that Lynn tells about that time that somebody stepped on her dress when she was out on stage. You can tell somebody that and they can actually see Lynn tell the story. You know, those are the things that we could be doing that would be interesting to keep the public interested in this as well. Possibly doing a live stream show once a year, something that we could be doing so that people not only in our community can enjoy the theater that we put on, but people across the nation. We have friends, families, loved ones that aren't in our area that would love to see what we do. And we could be doing that with a live stream show at least once a year. That's something that we could be looking at. And there are ways to make revenue on that as well, as long as we check all the things that we need to do in order to do a virtual play or a live stream play. We should be able to do that. Murder mystery dinner for our volunteers. So everybody that participates, when we get together for our volunteer dinner, we're actors. Let's do a murder mystery. You know, let's put something together along those lines. And finding quality indoor and outdoor performances. So we should be looking at possibly doing theater rather than just our fall through spring season where we're indoors at the Boniface. We could be looking at doing outdoor theater in the summertime. So children's camp. We're talking right now, we're in the works of getting together to do Charlotte's Web at the UP State Fairgrounds in the Red Barn. And it's looking more and more and more like we're going to do this. This is what we're going to do. But this is something that we could be doing on a regular basis. This could be the jumping off point for camps for kids in the summer where they get together. We have them work on their own sets, their own costumes, their own direction. They get to put on their own script. And then at the end, we have people that are working with them. At the end, we get to see what they've put together as their production. So that this could be really the jumping off point for us. One more. the Penguin Project. Chad Allen talked with us at the Chad Allen Carr. I believe that's correct. He talked with us about Penguin Project, and Penguin Project is something that I really want to start looking into. And it is for people of special needs performance. So it's something that we could be pairing with our ISD to get kids that normally wouldn't be involved in community theater or in theater at all. They are paired with somebody and they put on a production. It is something that that a lot of theaters are taking part in. There is funding available to help us to proceed with that. It is a great project that we could be really looking into. But there's a lot of information out there. And if there's people that are willing and interested in stepping up to work with people of special needs to do something like this, I think this is a great avenue for our community involvement.
Can I add one thing to that?
Yes, please, Jamie, because I'm sure you know more about it than I do.
Yeah, so the Penguin Project is a international movement, actually. When you decide as a theater that you would like to be involved with the Penguin Project, the organization actually sends people to you. There is no charge. They come to you, they help you set up your first show, they train you, they train the staff you're gonna be working with, and it's really designed to be a mentoring program. So it's integrated right into like a normal youth production. And I say that in a loose term because it can involve older people with special needs, but it basically pairs a youth actor with a youth actor of special needs. So they become a team on stage. Sometimes they have different characters, sometimes they portray the same character, and they're also in areas of production as well, not just acting. It is an amazing, amazing program. And again, there's no cost to begin this project. It's like almost like a kit of instructions and support staff that come and help you. And then they kind of wean off of assistance after the first couple years. And then you are off on your own. And then obviously you're still connection with the program, but there are hundreds of theaters across the nation that would, I'm sure would jump into a meeting and tell us about their experiences, about the size of the theater. It's a very interesting program.
Thank you, Jamie. Those are my notes and everything that I have on the script committee and why we're trying to develop a script committee. Who currently is working with Brian? Lynn, I know Nicole, she's trying. So we're Jamie, yes, Jamie. So we're trying to get that. We need that more organized. I mean, it's brand new. Brian started off with trying to do. He was doing script readings in the Boniface. We were just getting together and reading different scripts. People were supposed to bring scripts that they want read, that we could just get together and do some script reading. And we're kind of trying to expand on that notion with not just script reading for us for entertainment, but looking for scripts that we'll be able to use here on our stage. The one more in there, which is kind of I like, is another theater did War of the Worlds for Halloween, and they did it as a full radio broadcast. And I know we do our Christmas show every year, but I think War of the Worlds for Halloween around here would go off really well. I think it would be a fun thing for us to do. So, I mean, those are the ideas that we're looking for with that script reading committee. Like, I have a big heart next to War of the Worlds and the Penguin Project. Those are the two that I think were really great things that came away from that meeting. So any questions, ideas, anything you guys want to share?
Well, speaking of the War of the Worlds thing, we did the couple of radio shows earlier on that went over, I thought they went over quite well, were well accepted, and they were a lot of fun to do. So, yeah, we certainly could take on a project like that without a problem.
I think
I-
so too. Who's interested in being on that script committee besides Lou,
Here,
Alan, Tamara?
I feel like
Jessica?
that reading scripts, I feel like that's two very separate things, like reading the scripts and looking through to find pieces to do, and then the outreach stuff. I mean, all the ideas you had in the outreach, those are very different skill set almost. Like that committee I can see almost splitting off based on events. It's huge. There's lots there that you could do.
There is. It is. And there was a lot of ideas that were shared over the weekend. And I pulled the ones that I thought were, very fitting for our area. And getting more involved with our committees and on other organizations in the area, I think is something that we need to kind of branch out with too. Like Jamie with the Historical Society, that cemetery walk, I think is just a fabulous idea. But getting involved with maybe the animal shelter, and if we have something where there's an animal related in the script or anything along those lines, the foster closet with if there's children in need or children in the show or things along that nature, we could be pairing with those organizations to do a fundraising drive for them and advertisement for us, and it's goodwill across the board that way. Those are opportunities that I think that we're missing out on. I think we should be capitalizing on. And this with the script committee, I see what Tamara's saying is that we read scripts for fun and try and find things, but the script reading committee it's more of a finding committee. It's finding the right shows, finding opportunities, looking at things that we could be doing outdoors or indoors. Peninsula Players, which is just around the corner from us, does outdoor theater and does it really well and has great scripts that are kind of for our area. The comedy and stuff that they use is very fitting for our demographic. So those are the things that the script committee would be looking for. And then the additions, the fun would be to get together, you talk about what you need to do, and then we read a script together. We do script reading together, or we get something along those lines. It's in development. So that's things that we'd have to work, we're working towards.
I know exactly what Tamara's saying. Like, what comes first? Do we want to do this event and then find the scripts that go with the event? Or are we finding the scripts and then say, oh yeah, we could do that for that event? So yeah, I think it would be a good idea to prioritize which events first and then find the scripts that fit the event.
And
If
in
you-
We've
that
got our 4
process-
main stage shows, and if we want to do a summer one and a children's one, just as a starting point.
Right.
Heather, if you could add to I've been chewing on this for a year, a young writers theater where we work with the schools at like, I don't know, first, second, maybe third grade, where they're writing little funny stories, and then we improv. They have a little team of improv that act out
Ooh, I like that.
props. I don't know where I swear I saw it somewhere, but then I went searching and I really couldn't find anything. But I just think that's a really fun way of connecting with our school community and making those stories come alive.
There would be grants out for that, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah,
I think great idea. Jesse, that kind of spins off the Dr. Seuss stuff that we were doing, don't you think?
Oh yeah, exactly. I think it would work if you had children their age act out the parts, or if you had adults act out the parts that children wrote. I think it would work well either way.
or a combination of both. Like, what a cool opportunity.
It is.
think there's definitely a need for more in the school system. Um, Besides the Holy Name Theater and then the high school musical, there are not a lot of opportunities for younger groups. Beth, I don't remember if you can recall the year that Mark Kalman and I worked on the drama club at the U, but we were hoping for like 18 kids. Basically capped it out at 26. Went through like maybe like an 8-week theater course, taught them some basic stuff. They wrote their own plays, produced them, and performed them for their families here at the theater, and it was an amazing experience. So I know that there's definitely a need out there. There's definitely people interested. And with the added amount of youth theater that we've done in just the last few years, I know that we're cultivating those theater goers of tomorrow.
Yeah,
Anybody else?
Some
ahead,
sort
Alan.
of, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead, Ellen.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I was agreeing, excuse me, agreeing with Jamie and with with everyone else that was talking about the youth theater. You know, it would be really great to be able to maybe set this time as the starting point to start building some sort of a community youth theater program that ran in conjunction with players. I'm not exactly sure how it could be done, or what would need to be done, but anyone that could brainstorm something like that, that we could start building that, not necessarily a separate thing, but maybe a subsidiary, where it was its own little thing, but still incorporated and bringing them up in so that they could focus on the youth aspect of it. Just a thought.
Yep.
So this is it's a little bit on the older side, but I tried to bring back the drama club at the high school, Escanaba High School last year, and it went really good for a little bit. But the thing about having like high school age kids and even like middle school, junior high aged kids in theater is that a lot of the times, if they're not solely dedicated to being like in a theater production, they've got sports practices, they've got like extracurriculars that really get in the way. So I feel like getting that out there would be it'd be a great thing, because I know so many kids that are like want to get into theater but don't really have an outlet for it. But I think like if we got that out there and made that a priority for some kids, I think that'd be a really cool idea.
Mhm.
Any other comments? Oh, I can barely hear you, Laura. That was better.
Going back to what Daniel Peterson had said about getting some classes and stuff going, I have already been thinking about that, even though I just started sewing. I think it'd be really cool to hold some sort of small sewing class for just to get them even interested in that, because we turn that into little talk tutors eventually someday, and people that are interested in the back part of the stage as well. So that's something that I do willing to do, just to make some simple stuff for the time of graduate classes and go ahead and do as I learn something.
Any expansion on that? Go ahead, Lynn.
Not really. That's about all I thought.
Oh, Lynn, I can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay, here I
Hey.
am.
There you are.
I think if you started with some classes, children's classes, first of all, and it wouldn't have to be for too long, and you see what kind of a group you have and how many kids you have that are interested, then you go ahead from there to plan some kind of performance. And, it could be a Saturday thing. maybe it's held on the Art Center side, because depending on what we're doing on the other side, it's always where are you going to do it, what times, and who's available, and who's going to take charge of it. So for any of these things, really, you have to have a person who's going to say, I'm going to be in charge and I will take on this project, and then other people can join in and help them. But for example, there's a huge children's theater program up in Marquette, but the same woman has been doing it for close to 20 years.
Yep.
And so
Mhm.
they have between 60, 75, and 100 kids each year involved in a production. They're huge, but that's because you have one person who is dedicated to seeing that that happens every year and continues with that. So we have the ideas, we have the people, it's just getting people who are willing to take on those different projects.
Yep, stepping up and having some leaders, you know, that are gonna say, I think that that's what I want to do. And that's why I'm talking with all of you that have come tonight, is you're the people that are involved in theater and that are participating in and that are here and have ideas and want to see our future grow. And that's why I wanted to get, you know, reach out to everyone that is willing to step up and take on a project. That's what we're looking for, is some leadership. It can't just be the board picking people and, you know, or and saying, we want you to do this. We need people that have some passion and want and an ability and time. I know is an important factor for everybody. They have to figure out their schedules and what they're willing to commit to. But there are things that we could be doing in the theater that I would love to see take on. I would do them all if I could. I would head them all if I could, but I'm only one person, and I'm reaching out to the rest of you with ideas, and let's see what we can make happen. We're in a very unique time where it's almost like starting over at this point. I mean, we've always done these things. We've done the 3 straight shows and a musical, and these are the things that we've done for years. And we try little bits of things, new things here and there that we've kind of sprinkled in along the way. But there are things that we could be doing more of. People want to do theater, and these are the things that we could be doing in order to make our theater, I think, better. More community involvement with our theater.
I think it's also really important to say is that if somebody out there does have the passion that they want to try something new, is you don't have to feel like you have to do it alone, because we're going to find you help. We're going to find people to help make that happen. We're going to help make that happen. So don't ever be afraid to say that you want to do something that might be a little different than what we've done, because I mean, it's theater. We can make anything happen. It's magic.
I was going to ask, if one of us or two of us get together and have an idea, what's the process by which we then go to players if we think if this would be within their remit? Like, who do we talk to, or what sort of plan do we have to bring, or something like that? Walk us through the process.
The process would be, I can, Jamie is the king of process. He
Yes.
really is.
Yes. So,
He puts things together really well. So he's great. Go ahead, Jamie. Tell him what you do.
so
Just go to Jamie and
anytime-
then he'll make it happen.
What's that?
Just go to Jamie and then he'll make it happen.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I just have a problem with saying no, I guess. No, so to answer your question though, Jesse, is usually what I'll do is I'll think about, you know, what it is I want to accomplish. Like, for instance, Charlotte's Web, that's a great example, right? I had this idea that I completely stole from another person, a friend of mine downstate. They did Charlotte's Web on a farm in a person's barn. Like, there was absolutely like almost no set cost. The costumes were very basic. It was outside. Everyone was socially distanced. A small cast. and they're creating theater during the pandemic. So I'm like, holy crap, we can make this happen. So the first thing starts with your own excitement. Find that excitement within yourself and then be able to convey it to another person. My process starts with looking at, what do I want to do? This is the show I want to do, whether it's Charlotte's Web with a cast of like 12 or The Wizard of Oz with a cast of like 68. You know, I start with, what do I want to make happen? Well, I want to do this show. Where can I do it? I started looking at locations where tickets can be regulated. It's not, people just don't walk in. So next thing I think about is, where is it going to happen? Where can it happen? And then I usually find one or two people that I trust enough to share the idea with. They're going to tell me their opinions. Hopefully they're honest with me, tell me I'm an idiot so I can move on to something else. But it's finding that person that you kind of, you trust, you can bounce an idea off of. And for any of you, I would be happy to bounce any of your ideas you throw at me. Once I had a couple of people who felt like this was a good idea, who felt like this could happen, that's when I go to the board and I say, here's my rough idea. This is what I'd like to do. This is where I would like to do it. This is how I want to make it happen. Charlotte's Web was the first approach where I didn't plan to direct it. So we needed to find a director. And we did get a person absolutely crazy enough to agree to it. Okay, I guess she's not going to unmute and say anything.
She's not going to say anything about
Okay.
it.
But anyway.
Yeah, that's me.
and then it goes from there. You know, the plan develops. You know, you start putting together a team, and then before you know it, you have enough of a pitch where the board can't say no. You know, it's coming together with a few details, a few people, and then let that thing grow and make sure you're excited about it. Because if you're excited about it, I'm going to be excited about it. Does that help at all?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So we talked a lot about the script reading committee and the things that we could be doing and the benefits of getting some people together to plan some events, to get things going, to look at what we can be doing. Any other questions, concerns, input that they want to put in on a script reading committee or script finding or yes, Lynn.
As far as the script reading committee, Jim and I have gone through a whole bunch of our scripts. I know Kathy Leduc has put in a whole bunch of things that she had and suggestions. And we've talked to Brian Taranjo, who's on the board and kind of heading this. So I would encourage anybody who wants to be involved in that to contact Brian. And we have maybe 25 scripts already that have very small casts. And so I think the next step for that committee would be to get together and then start giving some scripts out so people can start reading things, and then we can get together and discuss them and go from there.
I know that Jamie and Brian are talking about setting a date and working through some organization to try and get this going in the right direction, to how to get the scripts out, when to get people together. Right. We're in the process of this virtual, show right now too, which everybody's been kind of tied up with. But it is something that should be a priority we need to move forward with. So as soon as they have any information out, we're going to send it out to everybody in Players through the email, so that we can make sure that everybody that wants to be involved in it can be involved in it.
And it's great just for your own personal enjoyment to start reading things. I've always said, if you're interested in theater at all, you should read. And usually it only takes you 2 hours to sit down and read through a whole play. And just you get ideas about what you think is good, what isn't good, what we can do. Even though you may like something, it may not be doable on our stage or because of certain set constraints or number of people or whatever. But you're educating yourself about more theater, and that's a good thing.
All right, so I'm going to move on to the next section. The third section that I have to talk with you guys about is this is something that we don't currently have, and I would like to see operate. We figure out what we're going to do is a fundraising committee. So strictly for fundraisers. The ideas, some of the ideas that came across over the weekend was the one that I came up with would be a humble beginnings, an alumni Zoom live stream broadcast. So people who have started out with us through Players Denock and have gone on to do other things in theater above and beyond where we're at, I think would be a great live stream program that we could do, that we could actually sell tickets to through a live stream service, talking about their experience with players and the things that they've gone on to do in the future. I think that shows that Players is a place where people can get their roots from and grow from. I think that would help with spreading the word throughout the community on what a great place Players Denock is for our future, for people that want to get involved in theater or have not, you know. It's just an idea that I had kicking around in my head over the weekend when we were talking about it. Another theater did a 24-hour live stream variety show with 2 hosts that did absolutely the most ridiculous things, live stream all night long. And I know some people that would be willing to do ridiculous things on a live stream program. They did things like a hula hoop contest. They ate the hottest peppers on the planet for a live stream, while people came in and did variety where they did comedy acts. They did some singing, they did dancing, they did all sorts of different things that they could be doing in a 24-hour period to do it as a fundraiser that people that tune in can then click on a button and donate money just directly to Players. So a 24-hour live stream show would be, I think would be fun. We know some crazy guys that we could get up there and crazy girls that could host it. So that's one of the ideas for a fundraiser. Several fundraising ideas that they had, that people have, is that they have sponsored open night parties. So rather than us doing the afterglow where we supply the snacks and food and everything, where we actually ask a business in town to be the host for the night. So we're partnering with a business in town. They provide the foods and snacks, and they socialize and mingle with everybody at Players. It could be a kind of a money saver for us, so that we're not supplying for the public, but it would also be a great benefit for us to be partnering with some businesses in town and say, hey, opening night, you could be our sponsor. We could have them be our ushers for the night. They could be our serving the food in the back and talking. If they want to do a presentation or something along those lines about their business at that time, you know, it would be something that we could partner with for sponsors for an opening night party. One of the ideas that I had to offset some of the cost for Act Fest and sending people to festival was to have sponsored actors. So people could sponsor, or businesses could sponsor an actor to go to the competition shows. So we could be asking Burger King to supply Jesse with the funds to go to the Act Fest, and we know what the numbers are for the cost of the festival and the cost of the hotel and some food expense and some gas. We figure those things out before we go. We'd be able to go, and then they go into our program as a sponsored actor, a special star for this business that sponsored this actor to be able to go to competition, especially now that we are in this national competition and we're going to be known for, winning, of course, because we're going to win the nationals in June. So I think that might be a big boost for businesses in town to be able to say, well, we sponsored this actor. We could put a picture up of the actor and in their costume or a little synopsis, or they could even do a commercial for that business for the radio. There are ideas that could be kicked around to help offset some of the cost of Act Fest, is having businesses sponsor. We could be looking at things like that. Gimmick fundraisers. One person is going on Facebook every day for a week for his birthday, like I did for my birthday, was a fundraiser for players to raise money to get the projectors. He was a new character every single day. He just put on a different costume and became a new character, and he was doing this fundraiser. Get little gimmicky things like that we could be doing for fundraising, different costumes, swapping it out. The other one would be which set piece was this on? Like we could be doing a contest or something along those lines of who was in this show. Do you recognize this costume from this show? Gimmicky things like that, where we could be using our social media. Finding sustaining donors is one thing that they really talk about, is finding people who will be a sustaining donor for Players to Knock, so that they do a contribution to us every year. Now we do have our in our back of our program, we have people that donate to us all. We have those names that are listed, but we should be expanding on that list all the time. It should be growing exponentially, trying to find those sustainable donors. Why is that word so hard for me? And then the other idea is corporate sponsors for shows. So you go to any one of the corporations, EMP, and say, we're looking to do this show and we would love for you to be our corporate sponsor, so that their name will be tagged with absolutely every piece of advertisement that we do for the show, saying that they are a corporate sponsor for anybody's show that's been submitted, so that we could be they could be donating to us the cost of the rights for the show, the cost for the advertisement, half the advertisement cost, whatever we're going to pitch to them, they would be our sponsor for that show. So that's another way that we could be doing some fundraising. But these are just ideas that we should be putting together in like a group of people that are just like, we're going to raise money. This is what we're going to do. We're raising money. We're the fundraisers, and this is what we're going to do. We're going to get behind a couple of different ideas, and we're going to drive these ideas home, and we're going to see how much money we can raise. And that all goes back to not having our ticket sales be our only source of finance for our organization.
Heather?
Yeah.
I would challenge some of the stuff that you're bringing up, just because it's a tremendous labor draw on a number of things. I think especially coming out of the pandemic, we want to look at ways that we can raise funds without utilizing resources that we are already enlisting to create our theater. One thing that I think Players misses tremendously is simply a letter writing campaign. Being on another nonprofit group in town, we have just a couple of different sources of income, and the largest one by far is simply a letter writing campaign. We have a mailing list. We send out a letter that says, hey, we are looking for donations for this purpose. And, we were collecting between, I think, this last year, even with the pandemic, we were around 8,000. And before pandemic, as much as $14,000 a year by just sending out a letter. And the return to effort on something like that is way better than trying to do a 24-hour skit online or repeated Facebook posts every day for a month. There are simple ways to collect money, but we just need somebody to start driving those.
Sure.
Somebody that knows a copywriter. Twin City Players in Lower Michigan, they did a no-show show. They actually set up some social media campaign as if they weren't having a show, and you could order your tickets online, and it was like $10. It was basically just a donation. And it was quite comedic. It took them probably about 2 days to put the whole thing together. And they turned around and made like something like $6,000 by people attending their no show. Another theater in Minnesota did a Don't Go fundraiser. They sent like a gala letter that said, how much would you pay to not have to get dressed up? How much would you pay to not have to go out to eat? How much would you pay to not have to mingle with people you don't like? And it was like a cafe plan. They checked the box all the way down the page, and then at the bottom was a total. So however many checks they checked, that was the total amount they were going to donate, and they sent in a check.
What I'm
So I
hearing
think
is
there's-
Jamie's volunteering for the fundraising committee.
Well,
Those are great ideas, Jamie. I absolutely love
just-
all of those those are less labor intensive, less hitting the pavement, asking with our hands out. I think those are all really great ideas. And what I was coming through is, like I said, just a list of ideas that other theaters had shared with us were the ones that I was giving out. And that's, I think that's the reason why putting together a fundraising committee would be a great idea. That talking, and it seems like a lot, that we're talking about a lot of different situations tonight, but the letter campaign idea is phenomenal. Like one theater was talking about how one theater was like, we don't do newsletters anymore. We don't send them out. People didn't respond to them. They're just not, they just don't work for us. And another theater said, that's one of our bigger almost free fundraiser, because we send out a newsletter, and every newsletter we send an envelope, and they send the envelope back, and it pays for the newsletter. And besides that, we get another $1,000 on top of it. So it's finding those little niches like that, I think would be really helpful. I like the no show idea too, because I would check all the boxes, not to have to get dressed up to go out. I can just snuggle on the couch with my dog, and then just send my money in.
One thing too is that we don't need to come up with the creative text, because there are literally thousands of copywriters across the country that would love to do a little writing for Players to Knock. So, out of maybe a $200 investment for somebody to whip together the unbelievably witty and snappy letter, and there's a lot of places that would share what they're already doing with us. So it's certainly not reinventing the wheel with some of these. I just wanted to pose an alternate opinion on fundraising, because if you are looking at people to volunteer, I don't want it to seem like it's this giant task, like you have to plan these big events, or you have to go out and talk to businesses that you don't know anybody that works there. These can be collected off of our online ticket sales too. We have addresses that create our mailing list and past season ticket holders. So there's a lot of this infrastructure already in place, but like anything, we just need somebody to drive it.
And this particular committee does not exist. So there's
Correct.
nobody to drive it right now, right? So
Right. And that's why, like I said, reaching out to everybody, what appeals to you, what kind of a level of involvement do you want to be involved in? And is any of these ideas something that you want to run with? That's the reason why I wanted to reach out to everybody again.
Heather,
Lou? Yep.
This newsletter, so this newsletter was going to the general public?
Yes. Yeah, it was going to the people who attend the theater. So it would be going out to the, Lou is currently working on a draft of a newsletter for members of Players Canuck. He's kind of putting together a little something. We're working in the works of trying to get something together to go out as a newsletter just to our members. That would include like our general meeting notes and board meeting notes, and you can be able to see those things. So he's currently working on trying to get something together like that. But what they were talking about, Lou, was for the general public. It went out to people who attend the theater or are donating to the theater. And
Okay,
then
so
Go
let me
ahead.
ask you this. I know brown paper tickets. Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, you could see who ordered online for brown paper tickets.
Yes.
So if brown paper tickets is not a viable company anymore, we don't have access to that database anymore. Is that right?
No, the company is still in operation. Our
Okay.
account is still open. We can access it. So brown paper
Okay.
tickets is not gone. They're still operating today.
Can we download that database somehow?
Yes, we can actually print all of our past ticket purchasers
Okay,
right back to.
and I'm just
the
looking
first
at a
time we-
start. I'm just looking at a start for, if we was to do that, who would it go to?
Yeah, we can definitely do that. We can pull a lifetime report.
Okay,
The first time we used brown paper tickets was for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. We sold all of our tickets online.
Lou, you'd probably use the people that buy our tickets every year from the list that we have there, and then add it to that brown paper ticket list.
right.
Yeah, we have a list of current season ticket holders, and then we can combine that with the online sale buys,
Right.
for sure.
Do we also have a list of former season ticket holders? People that we could approach again about trying to get them back on board?
It's
think
be
John
something
Floth
John
has
Floth, yeah, I was just gonna say John Floth would be the one that we'd have to contact with that information. I'm pretty sure that he has all of that.
And they just got back from Florida, so he's
Okay.
home.
Okay, I'll reach out to John and see if he's got anything.
I was gonna say, I love that, Heather, you're casting the vision for these committees. And people are, speaking up if they're interested. But I think it's important to cast the vision with everybody. Like, what do let's brainstorm ideas. And then there's certain people that are like, yeah, that's a committee that really speaks to me. I want to be, boots on the ground and be doing the detail work on that. But, there's a lot of visionaries that have ideas for all the different committees. And, how that old adage that if you speak up, you're certainly going to end up doing the work on, yeah, that's a great idea for you to take on. So people are like kind of nervous to speak up, but that should be something that we really welcome and, periodically say, okay, let's get some fresh ideas. What do you have? So that, anybody that even isn't on that committee is welcome to throw an idea into the hat, and then the committee takes and does, based on whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying. I have a lot of ideas that I would love to see implemented. And yeah, I've always been like, well, if I speak up, then I'm going to be the one that gets, and I'm like my brother. I have a hard time saying no to people. I like to get out there and help and be involved as much as I possibly can. We can't all do it, but we need more people doing it. I think that's what I'm trying to reach out to, is that we need more people to take on ideas and run with them and try them out. Even just trying. I mean, we don't know if we don't try, right? We can't succeed if we don't take that first step forward on trying to do some new innovative things. They might not all work, and that's okay. That's okay if they don't work. We learn from that. We grow from that. And like reaching out to you guys I was a little nervous coming with everybody. I know it's a lot of ideas that I've come together with, but I think putting some of these, we have some of these committees that are put together. The last two that I want to talk about tonight, the fundraising committee, we don't have one. We don't currently have one. We don't have anybody heading it. We don't have anybody that's involved in it. It's something that I think that it could be really important to us. And like Jamie said, it doesn't have to be reinventing the wheel. There are other theaters that have these things out there, and we have access to them. We're part of organizations across the nation that other theaters are willing and more than able to share their ideas with us and what has worked for them and what hasn't worked with them. There hasn't been anybody that I've ever talked with at any of these conferences, any of the functions we've gone to for ActFest. Everybody is willing to share their ideas and want you to succeed with them. So we have resources available. It's not like we have to start from the ground up, but we need people that are going to step forward to take on some projects. Then the next one that I wanted to talk to you about is like volunteers. We have a theater that we have a lot of people that are involved in it, but we could use more people. I mean, we could use more people to volunteer. We could use some more people to just usher, to work backstage, volunteering. Maybe we changed it from another organization is not calling it volunteering. They're calling it production assistance. So there's different things that we could be doing for volunteers, like backstage help, doing backstage tours. Where do we need the help? Let's give people a tour, what it's like to work backstage, what it's like to work in a lighting booth, see if that appeals to not just members. I'm talking about outside organization, like outside our organization, a social media call for people that might be interested in learning our light booth, learning how to set lights, somebody that might be interested in sound engineering and sound design. Not just within our organization. We might find some really talented people that are like, well, I never thought about helping out at the theater. That's a great idea. I work at the casino and I run sound out there, or I DJ weddings and I'm interested in doing something along those lines. Those are the things that, we could be looking at for getting some volunteers, but maybe a volunteer coordinator, somebody that we could go to for getting volunteer organization, calling for ushers, calling for backstage. We could have somebody that maybe is doing volunteer coordinating. That is just a kick around kind of idea of getting more people part of our organization, getting some more talent, not just on stage. It's not just the call for rehearsals. It's the backstage stuff, and it's the other things that we need to have done too. I mean, we have people that just like to do tech. They don't like to be on stage, but they really like to do tech. Those are the people that we need to keep interested in and know who likes to do what. So somebody that might want to be interested in doing volunteer coordinator, that's an idea from another theaters that they have that going on. There's different calls for setting up a citywide search for site, working with the city, saying that just putting up a volunteer list, people that need volunteers for things, that someplace where they can go to say, well, I'd like to go and help out because they need help over in at the fairgrounds, or if they need help with citywide cleanup, or players is looking for help for ushering for shows. So those are one of the areas there. And then the last thing that I'd like to talk to you about is marketing committee, and a few of you on here are part of, have done some things with our marketing, but helping our advertising person. We have currently one person on the board that is in charge of doing a very large job. it is a very substantial amount of time and energy that goes to advertising for our productions. And now we're talking about advertising for not just our productions, but other things like our fundraisers and our event at the fairgrounds and other things along those lines. I think it's a lot to ask of one person. So we have a marketing person that's on the board, but we could put together, and I think this is one of the most important committees to put together is the marketing committee. Putting together a team of people to say, you're responsible for the website and you're gonna keep that up to date and keep things going on that. Someone else is responsible for social media. Couple of different social media ideas was that we started a while ago was doing the interviews for people who were new to Players, first time on the show, or people that are in a show, and posting those to social media. We could be doing exit interviews. What did you enjoy about the show? Why did you want to work backstage for this show? What did you do that was interesting? Those are the things that would keep people socially interactive with us on our social media sites, but might also entice somebody else to go, I might want to try out for the next show, or I might want to work backstage for the next show based on what somebody else has said. Marketing ideas that they had, evaluating your marketing, focus on who we want to reach, who we're marketing to. Digital programs is another really big idea, is digital programs. Not printing them, but having a QR code in your lobby where people just click on it with their phones and it pops up on their screen. It also could be on our social media webpage where there's a QR code for the program. The program could be available before they even come and see the show. YouTube channel for our theater is another really big one. The guy says, if you don't have one, get one set up, get one going, have a YouTube channel where you can post all of these interviews and exit interviews and all the things that you want to have posted on your social media, so they're not lost, but they're right there on the YouTube channel. Marketing our COVID safety program when we do reopen. Musical numbers on radio, TV, podcast, guests that show that we talked about that earlier. That was when that came in. To win tickets, you put up a set piece or a picture of a show and say, guess that show, and whoever guesses that show, they get tickets for that, the next production that you have up there. There's a lot of different things that we could be doing in our advertising department, but it's a lot to ask of one person. So if we get people together with the advertising person that is currently on the board, they could divide things up. Where are your highlights at? Where are you excited about? I love doing the social media stuff. I absolutely love doing the interviews, talking with people, showing the cameras, taking pictures during the show, doing little video clips and posting them up on the Facebook page. I love doing that stuff. It's something that really appeals to me. I don't know, where everybody else is at. Somebody might be really good at writing blogs. They could be doing a blog on our website, once a week, that we could be writing and engaging with our audience that way. Those are things for marketing, but I think that is our biggest area that we need the help in, is with that advertising person. I know that, Laura, you've done advertising from with the Dickinson County Players, right? That's where you were at?
Yep, Dickinson County Community Theater.
And what kind of things did you guys do over there?
A lot of traditional advertising, mostly just like radio ads and newspaper ads. And I want to say the newspaper ads didn't get much response, but the radio ads did. And then, of course, posters and that sort of thing.
Any questions or concerns in that area? Anybody that's really super excited about advertising? Anybody that really wants to step up and help out in that department?
I'll be in that department.
You'll be in that department. See, we got a volunteer for a committee. Yay! I'm super excited about that. Yeah, advertising to me is so key for our development in this theater. It's what gets butts in the seats, but it also gets people on stage. It gets people helping out in the production itself. Advertising is so important for us. It's so important for us.
I think one thing that was of value that was brought up at the last membership meeting was the lack of communication. You shared a plethora of ideas tonight.
It did.
And we see some faces in the meeting tonight that we don't usually see at our general membership meeting. So it might be a good time to ask, how is it that we can effectively communicate with you? So everybody at home that's on the Zoom meeting tonight, how do you prefer to get your information? And how can players be better at communicating to you what's going on?
Anybody want to jump in on that? Lynn?
I think email, if you have people's emails, that's a great way to start. Because a lot of people don't go to the meetings. Especially if they're involved in a show. You would think that everybody who is involved in a show would be at the meeting, but they're not, because it's one night they can stay home and rest. But I think something should go out, if I can make a suggestion, for the committees that you've proposed, so that people can know what's coming up and they can respond to someone, or if it's one person on the board or who's ever sending out the email, that they would like to volunteer for a particular committee. And then maybe after the meeting, if there's time, those committees could meet and decide how they're going to go forward. Something like that. Otherwise,
think,
we're getting
this-
into the summer and you're not going to have anybody, people are going to be scattering again, and it's going to be hard to get together and get reorganized.
I think
I would like,
Zoom meeting,
go ahead.
I think, that we should be using this format as much as we can, especially when it's meeting night, so that people that can't be there but would still like to see what's going on can jump online and be part of it, even if they're halfway across the country.
That's a great idea.
Mhm.
So just back to what you were originally talking about with the advertising or PR committee, I guess. Exactly what it was, Heather. But I believe the last meeting that I actually attended there, pre all the COVID stuff, I believe I did jump on board to assist with that, with the advertising and stuff. And we did touch base, but then, of course, it's easy to blame things on COVID. But for whatever reason, we ended up dropping out of touch, and there probably wasn't a whole lot of PR and stuff going on at that point anyways. But yeah, I believe I was slated to be a part of that, and I definitely want to, still be in with that. So that's that.
That's great, Ellen. I really appreciate that. Lou?
Part of what I want to do in conjunction with the newsletter that goes out to all the members, is there will be I have envisioned a complete Google Docs site that has newsletters, a roster with everybody's addresses and emails. And there'll be places on there where you can see stuff, you can see what's actually in the scene shop without going to the scene shop. You can do subcommittee meeting notes on here, and you can update it. Like, for example, I have on my screen over here, I have a mock-up attendance and info sheet that has spots for everybody's addresses and emails, and if they were present at the last meeting. And I sent that document to Jenny Haler tonight, and she updated it, and now it's on my screen. So that way it's user-friendly, it can be readily updated at a moment's notice. Somebody just goes in and fills out their information and it's done. As far as a document that has something that we don't want to change, I could put it on there as a PDF format and send it out to everybody, so everybody gets the same information, as long as the information that they provide, whoever is going to be running this, which I'd like to do, that their information is right, then they'll get it. If they're not, you know, because I know, like for example, Georgia and Lynn and Jolie were suggesting that they didn't get anything. So this is a way that everybody will be able to have access to it at any time of the day. When we add something new, you can share that document. You can input all the email addresses, and it goes directly to that person, so they'll get a direct link to that new item. Or if we want to just streamline it to a couple of people, we can say, okay, for Charlotte's Web, for example, person A, B, C, and D, because that's the only people that are concerned with it right now. So A, B, C, and D will get that email, and it goes that one document and they'll see everything that's going on at that time. So I think that with what I have envisioned, with what has already been said, there's a start for it. I don't know how long it's going to take, but there is a start for it.
So we have a board meeting next month, this coming Monday, the 26th. So with kind of running all of this past all of you about starting these committees and getting things together and working on them, going to present that all to the board as well. You know, what we talked about here, probably not in great depth, but talking about getting this started and getting things going. My idea forward on this was that each one of the committees would meet in the beginning, at least in the beginning, once a month, if not twice a month, to get the projects rolling, to get where you're going. Then you decide when your next meeting is and when your next meeting is, and that a person from the board would be from in each committee. So like there would be the marketing person, of course, would be with the marketing and the advertising. The vice president would be with the script, you know, that they would be tied so that you have somebody that's on the board that's listening, that's hearing what's going on, and then they can report back to the board what's going on so that we can keep our progression going forward, especially since we're headed towards the summer. So the summer is when we all went, we're done till next year. Well, we can't this time. This time we have to, in order to get theater done for next year, we have to step it up. We got to pull up our boots and dig in and do some work. And especially in the next couple of weeks, you know, especially with Charlotte's Web, trying to get that going. Georgia and I've talked about doing her show as an outdoor show in September. So there are things that are in the works and we need to work on them and get them done. We have to have people that are willing to step up. Keeping everyone informed is number one priority. Keeping the membership knowing exactly what's going on so that people that want to be involved can be involved. If you have a project idea and you want to do something, I'm all ears. I'm all ears. If you want to be part of any one of these committees or on 2 or 3 or all, whatever your time allots for you, whatever time you have available, we're willing to take it. We got work for you to do. We want to move the theater forward. We want to see some new ideas. We don't want to be stagnant. We need to be reinventing ourselves, but not in reinventing the wheel, right, Jamie? I mean, we've got resources and things out there so that we're not starting from scratch. We have people that we can talk to help us in these areas and move us forward. This conference that left me super invigorated. I went into that weekend, I was feeling, to be honest, I was a little defeated. I felt a little like didn't know, kind of like spinning around, chasing my tail, didn't know where to go and what to do. But the first step was reaching out to all of you. These wonderful ideas that were presented to me, I have a list of them. Sitting down with you, I'm sure we could all come up with a million more different ideas, but picking one or two at this point and jumping on those and going forward with them is what I would like to do. And the first thing is getting these committees together, getting people who are going to solidly commit to doing some work. We need some work done. And we need to move forward. And I hope that my talk kind of inspired you to maybe step up to a committee, or if you have great ideas, to share them. Let's talk about them. Let's get things moving. Anybody else with any questions, concerns?
Hey, Heather.
Yes.
Put me down for the fundraising committee.
Awesome. Sam, thank you very much.
Yeah, definitely.
Posted a couple of links in the chat before we end the Zoom meeting. If you copy those are links to the AACT webinar section. A lot of the things that we talked about tonight have already been covered through AACT, and there's some great resources out there. And there's also, I also included a link for the Industry Connections, which AACT was able to get a good number of people in the industries, obviously, that we use here at the theater, whether it's rights or streaming equipment, volunteer organization, ticketing, and volunteer tracking. You can scroll through those links and you can find free videos online to watch that can give you a little bit more insight on some of the things we talked about tonight.
Any other questions, concerns, issues? I really,
Heather, you
really
might want-
appreciate y'all all coming out tonight. Go ahead, Dad.
Heather,
Yeah.
yeah, mention your cleanup thing before we go.
Oh, hey. May 15th, 14th and 15th. I got a dumpster I want to fill. I'm sure you can help me fill that dumpster. They're going to deliver it in the morning on
It's
Friday. And we're going to do cleanup on that final room and get that emptied so that we can get that asbestos tiles removed out of there. We don't have to worry about, we're all wearing masks anyways. So the dust and debris and stuff, we get that room cleaned up. That building is, I'm sure, sighing with relief with the work that we've done in there in this last year. And I really appreciate everybody that's turned out and would love to see all your faces there. And I love seeing them all tonight. I really am very happy that you guys were all here with me tonight. Like I said, I felt so great after that meeting. That conference was well worth the money. I really enjoyed every bit of learning about what other theaters are doing and the reopening process. A lot of theaters aren't even looking at a few. Now, I'm not going to say a lot. A few theaters are looking at postponing for another year. A lot of theaters are already open and doing some form of theater, and they're doing things that are new and innovative for them. So I'm excited for that.
And if you think that she was excited for attending that webinar, you guys should know that tomorrow CTAM has a webinar with Richard Hoover, who is a Tony Award-winning designer for stage and film. And if you check out the Players Members Facebook page, you're going to find a link I posted earlier in the week. Also in May, CTAM will be hosting their spring conference. So there'll be lots of webinars for everybody to attend. They just made the call today that they are going to accept donations for the spring conference, but they will allow free access to all of the webinars throughout the entire week. And because you're all Players members, and Players supports its members by allowing you guys to attend webinars and conferences, ActFest is coming up right around the corner, June 14th through the 20th. And you can contact the board about registering to attend the online workshops that happen during ActFest. And Players Inoc will cover your tuition costs for you. So you can be inspired too.
I'm looking forward to the Act Festival. I'm already looking at which classes I want to take, and they are so inspiring, the classes and the discussions and the things that go on at the Act Fest and the conferences, the spring conference. They really give you a boost of energy that I think that everybody needs, especially now, right now, with what we've had gone on in this last year. It's just inspiring. It is truly inspiring to hear other people talk and to get these ideas, just get your creative juices flowing again. Anybody else with any other questions, concerns, things they'd like to add? I really thank you. Thank you all very much.
Thanks for joining us, guys.
Thank
Good
you
night.
for all the new information.
Thank you.